Hi, I'm Mattias RowenBale, and I'm Acme Theater Company's current stage manager. Now, if you've been to one of our shows before, you've probably heard us say that Acme Theater Company has been passed down from generation to generation of youth leaders for 41 years. And that's pretty cool. But to be honest, as a part of Acme, I haven't gotten to hear all that much about our previous youth leaders. This big day of giving, I set out to hear more. So, I asked some of our previous lighting designers and master electricians about their stories and experiences with Acme, hoping to kind of trace the Acme lighting back through some generations.
Hi everybody, my name is Zach Lukers, and I was in Acme from 2005 to 2006, and I served as the Lights Master and Master Electrician for the 2006 season.
Hello, my name is Kate McFarland, and I am a former Acme Master Electrician. I served in that position from 2007 through summer of 2009.
Hi, my name is Delaney Steele, formerly Pels. I use she, her pronouns, and I was the Master Electrician for Acme Theater Company in 2010.
Hi, I'm Andres De Loera, and I was Acme's Master Electrician in 2015 through 2016.
Hi, my name is Maya Bailey. I am a senior, and I am Acme's Master Electrician. I have been the Master Electrician for a little under a year now. I took on the apprentice position in February of 2020 and then trained throughout the summer and took on the Master position in August of 2020.
Hi, my name is Tesla Boyer. I am currently the Lights Apprentice.
What I think it means to be an Acme Master Electrician is that you are a mentor and a leader within the company. You are taking on more responsibility, both around the productions that we are putting on. You are responsible for one of the design components. But you are also putting yourself in a very visible position to mentor and lead, your apprentice, the folks on your lighting crew, but also really anyone within the company. You are out there as someone who is setting an example for the work that we're doing and for the quality of character we look for within the company. So it's definitely more than just designing the lights for shows. You're there to lead your peers and offer peer-to-peer mentorship, I'd say.
At the time, I didn't realize the skills that we were gaining were fairly unusual for people our age. It was a lot more learning about leadership and how to delegate, kind of subtly, and then, the rest of it was learning how to have an eye for what works and what doesn't. Learning a lot about how to manipulate light so that you manipulate people's emotions and how they see things and how they encounter moments in space. And I think being able to do that at a young age was a gift.
And I would describe being the Acme Lights Master or Master Electrician as the ability to take a director's vision and do a lot with a little. We always are working to explore different artistic interpretations of what people are trying to do, and especially working with light is a very interesting medium, and just being able to do a lot with a little is a very good skill to have.
I think the biggest challenge I faced during my time as an Acme Master Electrician would be lighting our production of Macbeth in the fall of 2008. For that particular show, we put the audience on the Veterans Memorial stage. So that limited some of the lighting positions I could use in the theater by moving the playing area further upstage. And the audience was in a 3/4 thrust position, which means they are not just in front of the actors, they are also on both sides of the actors. So you really have to consider the angles you are lighting them from, because it is of very utmost importance that you are able to see people's faces clearly from not just the front, but also from the side positions as well. So that provided a really unique challenge for me.
Personal favorite, The Mad Woman of Chaillot. That show was so fun because there were all of these bizarre, absurd scenes that I got to get really creative in designing. The most challenging of those was probably creating a stairway directly into hell out of just a pathway of light. My favorite memory as Master Electrician also comes from that show. I I remember very distinctly when we were resetting the theater, putting everything back to the way it was before we got there. I was standing up on the stage. I was barking out channel numbers to the crew that was in the booth. I was yelling focusing instructions to my crew in the catwalk. And I overheard the professional theater technician lean over and tell somebody, "Damn, am I gonna miss him?" To this day, probably the best compliment I have ever received.
The fondest times that I think back on are dark times during load-in, when we were focusing the grid. That, to me, is just the quintessential Acme Electrics experience, is being in this super dark theater with a couple other people with disembodied voices. You know, someone's up in the catwalks moving instruments, and someone's maybe walking across with like their hand on their head because they're too short. So that we can focus it so it'll hit other people's faces. And that for me is like a visceral memory of like, this was Acme, like darkness and some light and then other light and people and voices, and I don't know, it makes me smile thinking about it.
And I think my favorite moment, having been Acme's Master Electrician, has been when I did my first lighting design, and at the beginning of the final show, all the actors turned on the cameras, and like within a few minutes, I received a lot of text that was like, "Maya, good job, you did it, go Maya," and I felt really good, and like all my hard work paid off.
My favorite show to light was definitely Metamorphoses. That show for me, and I think a lot of people who were in Acme at the time, was a really just, it really stuck with a lot of us. It was really grueling to work on. It had a lot of challenges, but it was still to this day one of my favorite shows to work on, and a show I'm still over 15 years later proud to have been a part of.
What was my apprenticeship like? To be honest, that was probably the best part about being involved in lights, is I got to work with Kate McFarland, who was just possibly the best trainer that I could have possibly had. And I learned a lot working with her, and it was a really good give and take. And I think that's really important in apprenticeship, is that you not only learn, but you also, you know, start your leadership.
My training period was definitely a little funky because it was the beginning of the pandemic. And while I worked with my mentors to try the best that we could to learn a lot of in-person lighting design skills, it was really hard because we couldn't do any in-person lighting design. And so a lot of the training that I received was focused on the more artistic side of design rather than the more technical side. And that's been really cool and really useful doing Zoom lighting design because I can use those really anywhere.
My apprentice, I wasn't quite certain how to actually train someone, so we spent a lot of time talking through what I was doing as I was designing. And there were a couple moments of sink or swim, which, you know, in retrospect, that's maybe not the best way to train someone. But hey, I was, 17, was figuring some things out. But I do think that, he picked it up. He did great.
As for the way that I'm training my apprentice currently, I'm really trying to gather a lot of in-person design skills and pass on the Zoom lighting design skills that I have, because in the current state of the pandemic that we're in, it's definitely important to have both, because we don't really know what our future is, but it seems like we might be back in person soon. And so that's been really interesting because I'm learning along with her.
It's definitely challenging to be doing theater in a pandemic and online, but I think it also allows for a new sense of creativity to kind of see how we can work with what we have. So I think it's a great time to be learning.
My advice I would give to future light masters is always be looking for something new to learn, something new to add to your toolbox. I've never stopped picking up little tricks here and there, and everything can be a great trick, just from where to hang a light, a different way to coil cable, a new way to program a little faster on the board. Just always be learning, always be open to new ideas, which is great.
I would tell a new master electrician that they should get to know their light board. I was absolutely in love with the light board when I was there. It was my phone background for like 2 years, much to the chagrin of my girlfriend. And I think there are huge returns to getting to know how to use it really well. I remember really long tech week nights. I would just be sitting up in the booth. I would thumb through the manual. I would learn interesting tricks that would save me time in the future, or really cool effects that I could just program in without the director even asking for them. And then everyone would be so surprised when it would happen, and it would be awesome. So get to know your light board. It is your best friend.
How did being an electrician at Acme play a role in my life after leaving Acme? It completely framed it. I have no idea what I would have done had I not gotten into lighting with Acme, because that is what I did. It's what I still do to this day. I've done lighting for concerts and touring musicals and plays and dance and movies and TV shows, and it has been an amazing ride. I've gotten to do so many amazing things, and I really and truly do owe all of it to the experience that I had at Acme. So really one of the fundamental shaping experiences of my early life, and I will always, always, always be thankful for that.
And have been pursuing a career at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival for 6 to 7 seasons now, as a theatrical electrician, and moving my way up through the ranks. And that I would really give all credit to Acme, with instilling in me a foundation of technical skills, but also the confidence in my abilities and the knowledge that I can step up into these roles, and an ability to do so. So for that, I am very grateful, and a big, big thank you to Acme for that.